Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I get to simplify the marketing and the mindset necessary so that you can increase your income, your impact, and your enjoyment in practice. At the moment, I'm deciding about whether I'm going to upgrade my phone, my iPhone. The iPhone 13 is out. Now, I'm telling myself that the reason I should update my phone is because the camera is apparently a lot better on the iPhone 13. And given that we've now got Sonny in our lives, I'm justifying that the new camera is needed so I can take more photographs of my baby boy. That's probably the emotional reason. I'm trying logically. There's lots of different reasons there. Now, as a part of me wanting to make this decision, what I've been doing over the last 48 hours is I've watched a bunch of YouTube clips. I've been reading reviews and going on different forums, and I'm listening and reading and seeing what people are saying about the camera. Now, this sort of research that I've been doing actually has a name, and it was a Google exec that named it about a decade ago. It's called the Xero moment of truth, and it's relatively new. We didn't do this kind of research before the internet was around. Now, your and my patients do the same thing, many of them, before coming to visit us. They will jump on the socials, they'll look at the Google reviews, Yelp reviews, they'll visit our website, they'll ask their friends. We need to know how to master and make the most of this Xero moment of truth. Now, I have an expert on ZMOT, as it's called. His name is Paul Mackiewicz. He's a digital marketing expert, has his own agency, but he focuses on helping people, particularly with regards to this Xero moment of truth. And that's what we talk about in this episode. We talk about the importance and the growing need for you to optimize things like voice search. What is it that people are really looking for in your social media? What your website should be doing and not doing? And the very first steps to begin in this whole journey of maximizing this Xero moment of truth. It's a great conversation. It's a very important conversation. This is something that you can't afford to be missing out. Now, during this conversation, throughout there with Paul talks a little bit about a dashboard that he and his company have that help bring all this together. He was telling me after the episode is that you can just get a hold of the dashboard. You don't have to use his services ongoing, and to just have the dashboard that manages this all at once for you. It's incredibly cheap. It's less than $200 a month to help you with all of that. If you're wanting to investigate this more, then first of all, listen to the episode, and then you can get a free trial of the dashboard. But he was a hell of a nice guy. I really enjoyed my chat with Paul, and I think you'll find this episode really valuable. And I'm going to buy the phone too, okay? I'll take some photos. You can tell me if they look any different than what my previous photos did. All right, let's chat with Paul. See you in there.
Welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast, where we guide natural health and wellness experts through the pitfalls of marketing. Each episode, you'll learn simple, effective, easily actionable, and heart-centered marketing strategies. And here's your host, Angus Pyke.
Paul Mackiewicz, welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Now, I'm going to start off. I've got a very important question for you to begin with. Okay, a little off topic maybe. But first, tell me this. How many holes in one have you had?
Oh my gosh, you're actually hitting a pain point early. I have none.
Really?
I have none. No, I have an albatross. So
Wow.
I have a 2 on a par 5, but not a single hole in one. I've got probably a dozen and a half balls that I've left within a foot of the hole, but not a single hole in one. I've witnessed 3.
Yes.
So, my group certainly gets that lucky charm for me, but unfortunately none for me yet.
Well, let me share my tale of woe with you. I'm playing the 17th hole at golf course here in Melbourne, and I hit the ball out of bounds on the first. It's par 3. And then I hold out on my next ball. So I hold out for a 4. So there's part of my brain that wants to go, it was a 3. So it was part of my brain that wants to go, we have had a hole in one. I go, no, I haven't. It was with my next ball. I feel I would rather have not have had it. So for our guests, as they'll learn, but Paul has had many backgrounds. We'll talk about some of his backgrounds in the army, but as a golf pro as well. And then, the work that you're doing now as, in digital marketing. In fact, let's jump into it now, bud. Can you give our listeners perhaps a little bit of a background of your journey of what brought you to where we are right now?
Yeah. So I'm actually pretty active in the military veteran entrepreneur community now. So anybody that knows me wouldn't have known I was in the military until probably like 2-3 years ago when I actually branched off and started my own company. I didn't have the greatest military experience. I was after 9/11, I enlisted a few months afterwards. Felt a little bit of patriotic duty. I was also a freshman in college, changed my major 4 times, had no idea what I wanted to do. Figured this would give me a little bit of direction, something along those lines. So I spent 3 years in the service. Just a few months after getting out of basic and AIT, I was in Iraq. I spent a little over a year in Iraq back in 2004. So we were the first first artillery unit in there. So Wild West time of being deployed. And then I spent the last year or so, I had a very odd military experience. The last year, when my unit all got moved to Washington State and I was stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana, as soon as I told them I wasn't re-enlisting, they said, well, we got to find something to do with you for a year now, because we're not going to relocate you if you're not staying in. So I played oppositional forces for soldiers that were training to go to Iraq. So I basically played laser tag and yelled in whatever Arabic I could remember to discombobulate the forces we were training. And so I did that for a while. When I got out of the military, I became a golf pro. Actually, I always enjoyed golf, and in the military, my sergeant, his favorite PT was called golf PT. So instead of how many strokes it takes you to get to the hole, it was how fast you could get to the hole. So you took a 3-wood, a 7-iron, and a putter. We all teed off at the same time. You write your name on your ball. You all rip your drives, pick up your clubs, and you take off. So it's a bit of a dangerous game, especially if you got someone that like hits a ball off into the woods the first one, and you're all the way up on the green and balls are flying in at you. But it was great, and truly like fine-tune some skills. Definitely the mental side of the game, it helped out, because when you're playing that fast, you're not really thinking. And after that, I started working for a company out here in the US, Dick's Sporting Goods, for a while in their golf department. Decided, you know what, I think I'll take a try at a golf career, and passed the PGA playability test and became an assistant pro for a few years. It was great. It was awesome. I was giving lessons all day and registering 180 rounds a year. It was a fantastic job. I just couldn't make any money doing it. So that kind of brought me into some different career paths. With Dick's Sporting Goods, I always had a passion for like truly helping people like optimize their situation. And when it came to like a little kid coming to buy a baseball mitt, or this old duffer coming out trying to find a new driver that's going to finally fix the game, or things like that, I always enjoyed those conversations of really getting into somebody's passion and figuring out what was going to serve them best, and staying within budgets and all those things. So I did the retail thing for a while, and then I had a gentleman that I played golf with. That's actually a common theme throughout my career, is a guy I played golf with. He was opening a indoor golf simulator, driving range, bar, restaurant, entertainment center. And with my experience in management, he needed somebody to come running the entire thing. And so I came in and ran the entire thing, and I was running indoor leagues all winter, and like driving range contests all summer and things like that. Eventually, I got really sick of being in the Northeast. I'm from Buffalo, New York originally. So I moved out to New Mexico and was playing around a golf, met a guy who wanted to open a scooter rental company. And this was before, I'm sure you guys probably have some sort of version out there, but we've got Bird and Lime and all that out here for these scooter rentals.
Yeah. So scooter as in like the little electrical scooters, not the kind of motorbike ones, yeah?
Well, what we were renting out were 49cc, so a little bit more Vespa style, a little bit bigger, not the tiny little ones. But I took this guy's company and put in a good chunk of my own money. We bought a bunch of scooters, and I opened 5 locations throughout all of New Mexico. Just a little pop-up shop. We ran everything off social media. Our entire company was run off of Google Maps, or Google Forms, Google Docs. And some scripts that I wrote for that. And so I was kind of like learning this digital marketing thing and how to integrate some of these awesome new technologies to really be efficient in what we were doing. And eventually I got a job offer in New York City, which was always a big dream of mine, to go and live in New York City, to work for a startup digital marketing company called Main Street Hub. And when I got there, I believe I was like the 17th, 18th employee when I got there. And by the time I left 2 years later, there was over 250 people in the New York City office. And then we had an entire another office in Austin. So we were an Inc. 500 fastest growing company 2 years in a row. And I was a marketing executive with them. So I really when it came to understanding how to optimize social media, and a big thing that we did with them was reputation management, how to use Yelp and your Google business listing and, all these different directories that you're on. So I got, a real fast education in small businesses. And that also really, it tugged at my heartstrings quite a few ways as far as interacting with small business owners and entrepreneurs. And, I always had that feeling a bit between working at the golf location, having my own scooter company. I felt like the weight of what it was to be an entrepreneur, but now I was talking to dozens, hundreds of entrepreneurs about the struggles that they were facing with their marketing. And I truly started finding a passion for it.
Yes.
And then the last few years has been very interesting. I met my now wife in New York City. 6 months later, we moved to Miami together. I started working with a different digital marketing company that focused mostly with attorneys, and they did website design and SEO was more their bread and butter. So I came from reputation management and social media to SEO and website. And then my wife got her dream job out here in Los Angeles, which is where we are today. She's in the hospitality industry, so this is a great place to be for her. Me doing digital marketing, I can basically work from anywhere. So when we came out here, I opened a new office for that company that was in Miami. A little bit after that, I felt, I spent my entire career, making money for this guy with his golf company and making money for this guy with his scooter company and making money for these digital marketing companies. I was like, I think I have the skill set. I think I have the demeanor, the personality, the drive to go and do something out of my own. And so a little bit, it would have been October 2019 is when I launched hashtag smart marketing.
Yeah, what a great story. You've moved a lot over that time, from one side to the other, up and down. You've done some miles. I know, we touched on beforehand, I fell in love with marketing when I kind of had this realization that so many small businesses, entrepreneurs get into business because they've got a skill. It's I'm a chiropractor, I want to help people. Whether it's my family story early on, my mum always wanted to open up her own little kind of clothes store to sell clothes and homewares and stuff like that. And sadly, for many different reasons, that business ended up almost making us bankrupt. My folks were both school teachers beforehand. I've actually never told this story on the podcast. My folks were both school teachers. It was a dream particularly of my mum's. And she had a great skill in being able to pick clothes and wonderful taste. But there was never any marketing. Never. I look back on it now, no conversation on it. It was as though that you had to just sit at the door of the business and pray that people came in. And she was good with some people and there was some word of mouth, but it's a really slow way. And I often think that if I had the skills then that I had now, how fun it would have been to market that business. And it's so sad that the reason that so many businesses fail is not that they don't have a good product. I mean, some of them need some work. Let's be clear about that too. But a lot of them are really good at what they do, and they just need more people to know about them. One of the things I was super interested in chatting about today is this. I'm a big fan of an acronym, so we'll get straight into as we like to say here, ZMOT, but you'd like to call it kind of ZMOT there as well. Why don't we talk about the introduction? So for our people that are listening, ZMOT or ZMOT, as it's often referred to. Paul, tell us about that and why, our listeners, our chiropractors, need to understand this concept and what they can do to make the most of it.
Yeah, this concept came out from Google actually about 10 years ago. So this isn't something that I brought out. This isn't something that, is this brand new concept that people are trying to introduce. This has been talked about for a while, and it gained popularity pretty quick. And then it slowed down a bit, mostly because people got real heavy into, let's just advertise on social. Let's, run pay-per-click advertising. Let's do this. And the concept of the zero moment of truth didn't gain as much popularity as I would have thought. Now, COVID-19 amped that up a ton, mostly because more and more buying decisions are being made online, strictly through comparison shopping. So to give you an idea what the zero moment of truth is the traditional marketing style was always a 3-step process. There was the first moment of truth, which is basically your awareness. Like I see that commercial for Cocoa Puffs, or yeah, for that laundry detergent, something makes me aware of a product. The second moment of truth was always the shelf experience. So this is, I'm now at the grocery store. I'm looking at Cocoa Puffs and Fruit Loops. Oh, I remember that Cocoa Puff commercial. I'm going to grab that one and try them out. The third moment of truth was always the experience. And this is where, I've eaten my Cocoa Puffs. I've now decided these are awesome. I want to tell the world about it, or these suck. I'm never going to buy them again. So, that was always traditional marketing, was a 3-step process. As the internet gained in popularity and as the access to information has increased, we now have this zero moment of truth, which is tucked kind of like right in between the first and the second. They kind of lodged it in there, which is this comparison step. So now I become aware of a product or a service or a business, and what do? I'm going to Google them. I'm going to look at their reviews. I'm going to look at the community that they've built on social media. I'm going to look at their competitors. I'm going to see what the best value is, whether I'm buying on price, or I'm buying on convenience, or buying on location through mapping systems. So the zero moment of truth is just ensuring that when you are compared to all of those other businesses, services in your industry, that you truly stand out. You look the best. Your perception online is matching the reality of what people are seeing in house. And it's honestly, it's a real sad situation that so many businesses don't grab onto that and take control of that perception, because one thing I say to our clients a lot of the times is, perception is reality. If you're a 2.5 out of 5 on Google, there's a reason that people aren't choosing you and not going to your business, and not, you're losing business to your competitors, and your business isn't growing in the way you imagine. It's because that perception out there is, it is who you are to every single person that's finding you. And so
the media that people will consume in that zero moment of truth, is it limited? Like, is our website one of those pieces of media as well? Can we count that? Or is it really kind of external things to us? Or does it not matter?
No, your website's definitely included in it. It's basically anything that somebody could pull in to form an opinion about your business online. And so if I'm going to your Google business listing, that better be the right website linked to it. Or, you could even have a particular page linked to that Google business listing. So, that's what people are seeing from it. You just want to control that perception as best you can. And really your website is the main hub of it. That's the one place online where you control everything. It's not exterior reviews or clients added images or anything like that. Your website is your hub. So that should truly reflect the personality of the business. That should reflect your value points in very clear ways. That should reflect the conversion points that you feel are most important for your business. For chiropractors, that could be, sign up for a free consultation. That could be, call now. That could be, fill out a form submission. There's multiple conversion points that you could go to, but in designing your website, in designing what in website design is called the top of the fold. It's like the very first thing I see comes from like newspapers. You'd always put the top headline on the top of the fold. So when I get to your website, that top of the fold, what emotion is that conveying to me? Like what direction is that pointing me as far as a buying decision? If I'm seeing smiling faces, or I'm seeing like 5 stars, or I'm seeing something that is going to cue in my mind, oh, this is the best option for me. You've got that eyeball on your website at that moment, man, you better be going for conversion. There better be a one button call right there. There better be a form submission just underneath that image. Eyeballs are very, very difficult to get online. People pay tens of thousands of dollars for pay-per-click advertising. And then you send them to a landing page. And when I see a horrible landing page, I'm like, oh man, like it hurts my heart. Like I know how much money that these people, especially like I work with medical and attorneys. So attorneys right now in Los Angeles, to be like personal injury attorney for Los Angeles, PPC right now, it's about like $180 a click.
Yeah.
So, I mean, talk about that money you're just flushing down the drain. If that, one item that you're talking about, the website and the main conversion point that you have is not taken care of, that's a big red flag for me.
Yeah. I feel like so many of the chiropractors that I speak with, many of the health practitioners, have kind of forgotten about their website. It's like it's all 2000, that's 20 years ago website. It's all about social media now. And so when I look at their website, it clearly hasn't had anything done to it since then. It looks dated, the photographs on there, it's slow to load, all of these kind of things. And they put a lot of their effort into social media there. And I wonder some of the challenges now in terms of attribution, the idea of, when, for the last 25 years in my practice, when we had a new patient come in to see us, one of the things I wanted to say is, hey, Paul, how did you hear about us? I wanted to find out. The challenge now is that you might say, well, look, I just did a Google search. But you probably didn't just do a Google search. You did a Google search. I popped up. You might have looked at my Google ranking in there, my business. You jumped on my website. You had a look through there. Maybe you looked at my social media as well. That we're looking across all of these things, and it's this whole suite that people are looking at that we need to make sure that we're managing. Is there if somebody was starting from scratch, is there a hierarchy of what you would tell them to make sure they clean up and get sorted first?
Yeah. So the very first two places I tell just about any business is, one, your Google business listing. That is the most important listing that you have out there by far. Anybody that's taking map-based buying decisions, people are lazy. We like to find things that are nearby us. The information, Google also, by the way, has done an amazing job of expanding out the features and functions of a Google business listing. They're now product cards on there, service cards on there. Yep. You can utilize badges, tags for your business. Like, we're tagged as a veteran-owned business, and so we come up, higher in things like that. Where whether you're LGBT community friendly, all women-owned business. There's all these different tags you can put on there. The product cards, though, are incredibly important.
Yes.
So, and the fact that businesses don't utilize these more really blows my mind, because they show up right in your map listing. Another thing that's very important is you can actually post to your Google business listing.
Yes.
So when people think all the time, oh, I got to put this special that I'm putting on Facebook out there. Well, what about that person that's looking on maps and, they click on your listing? If you're posting on your Google business listing, that's showing up right there. If you have a special discount you're pushing, or a value proposition that you want to ensure people know, a conversion point. I mean, right on those service cards, the top button on it is call. So you put your phone number right in it, and then you put a link on that to the individual page on your website. So now you're not just sending them to your homepage, then, well, who knows what they're doing at that point. But if you're sending them to, say, I have lower back pain, and they click on that one thing, takes them to a blog page about lower back pain. They're now utilizing you as a resource for information. And that now, you want to talk about that trust factor. Who are they going to choose? Well, now you've been established in my mind as an expert. So, and it all came directly through Google business listing. I didn't even search, Google organics necessarily. I didn't find you on social. It's from a map system. And so, like, utilizing those resources is incredibly important. So Google business listing first. Here in the States, definitely Yelp.
Yes.
Because so a whole lot of people don't know, so you can have a little test yourself. If you have an iPhone, I'm an Android user, so I can't really do it myself, but if you have an iPhone, just say, hey Siri, find me a chiropractor in my area, and see where that information comes from. So voice search is increasing exponentially every year. People are using more and more voice search. Apple doesn't have their own mapping system fully yet, and so it piggybacks off of TripAdvisor, Yelp, and a few other sources. Main one being Yelp.
Yes.
So when that Apple Maps opens up, you'll notice there's not a whole bunch of little red dots like it is on Google Maps. It's actually little Yelp logos everywhere. So if you haven't claimed that listing, if you haven't optimized the amount of information you can put on there, it's funny. I actually had one of my doctors that I work with. We were doing some listings, and I sent him a listing breakdown of like where's information was not complete, or where we felt some areas of need were. And he's like, no, my Yelp listing looks fine. I got my name, my phone number, my address, and my website. I'm like, yeah, that's great. You don't have a single picture. You don't have any client testimonies. You don't have any reviews. You haven't answered any reviews. You haven't put the proper badges on there. Like, why would you not deliver that information? All of those are value propositions that, who knows what client could potentially see that. And that is the motivating factor to making that buying decision. So first, I always point to Google business listing. Next, I always point to Yelp. Third would be industry specific directories. For my doctors, it's, ZocDoc, RateMD, areas in that. Health Grades is another big one. So it's optimizing those listings. For one, those listings are high authority sites, and we can get into the SEO and all those pieces that gets a little bit more technical. But Google basically places an authority score on every single website out there. And if you have a high authority site that links back to your site, or your site's linking to a high authority site, Google sees more value in you as a business and your online presence. You appear higher in search rankings, you appear higher in maps. It's just like a win-win-win scenario. And then lastly, before I even addressed the website or anything along those lines, I do a directory search. Because if you're not, listed on, Manta or Hot Frog, Foursquare, like there's all these different directories out there. Chances are nobody's gonna go to Foursquare and then decide to go to your business. It's just unlikely. However, that's the link right to your site. That's more authority on your site. You're going to appear higher in more searches. That's right. One. Two, you never know. Like, you could have an elderly lady who's been using Yahoo for 15 years now, and she's not swaying, and so she's going to Yahoo Maps and she's searching there. So if you don't have a listing over in Yahoo Business, then you just missed out on a client. And there's services out there. Yext is a perfectly fine one. I believe Signup's another really good one. We can get into this in a little bit, but one of the big things that was the biggest value proposition I wanted to bring to the market when I started #Smart was our dashboard, which actually has a API connection built in with the Yext backbone. So you can control all of your business listings right through our dashboard. Nice. So it's really, my whole goal was to simplify and make digital marketing as efficient as possible. I'd heard countless stories of like, oh, I had this guy do my business listings 15 years ago, and they're all incorrect now. And every incorrect or broken link on your website, Google's penalizing you. You're showing up lower and lower in rankings now. Yes. So finding a way to clean all that up, finding a way to manage it in a simple way, that was one of my big goals in starting my own company.
I think you kind of touch on a couple of points there too. That I did a training recently where I went through just a little checklist of people's social media just to make sure links and stuff. Astounding how many of them had the wrong phone number on there. One gal had been paying, thousands of bucks a month for somebody else to manage this, getting no results. The wrong phone number was on there. Like it's, little things like that as well. I'm interested in your opinion on this, particularly with regards to kind of Google My Business. I wonder whether Google is wanting that to virtually become our new website. Whether they're pushing towards, as they're expanding information, I can post on there, I've got images on there, it's opening up its ability. Where do you think it's going long-term, your GMB listing?
So Google's already, if you pay attention to kind of what they're at, the different types of products that they roll out. So like Google Workplace, which replaced their old Google Suite, it's actually now a much more robust, complete company management program. I could very easily see them rolling out a CRM at some point. Some email marketing systems, like they're going to keep going in that direction. As far as websites, they've already released Google Sites. So it's, I would say it's comparable to like GoDaddy websites. I'm not a big advocate of them just because it's kind of taking your business and putting it into a cookie cutter box and saying, well, hope this works for you. It's not providing like a dynamic experience. You can't really do too many inlaid videos or things like that, like those cool conversion points that I like to push. But they're already going in that direction. Websites themselves, though, with the massive expansion of multiple extensions you can use, so getting into like .us's, .ios, things like that, we're going to keep ending up with more and more different variations of websites and things like that. I don't think websites will ever completely go away. I think that they're going to become more of a specialized hub. I could see that though, because a lot of buying decisions, you're right. I don't have to go to a website to get the information I need anymore. I can get all that right from a Google business listing or a Yelp page. But I think that for the foreseeable future, the websites are still incredibly important because that is your centralized hub of information. So maybe in 5-10 years, but I'm also not going to concern myself with that too much until until the writing's on the wall a bit more. If there was something that I would say is much more pressing, I would say like voice search is much more pressing than say like websites and things like that. So
I'm assuming if you're voice searching through an Android or Alexa, are they going over to the Google Maps side of thing to find the information there too, or where's
they're broken down into they all have their own independent contracts. So Apple works with Yelp generally on a lot of their data mining. Google has their entire own system. So when you're on a Google Home or asking, hey Google on your phone, I have to be sure mine's not listening here. Let me look around and check out everything off. So Google's all tied into its own system. Apple basically and Yelp is kind of their own ecosystem. Alexa also uses Yelp. They don't use Google's system. Okay. So Alexa's a little bit more, it pulls from multiple data sources. Apple really is mostly like 2 or 3 of them. It's Yelp, TripAdvisor, the biggest ones. Alexa's much more varied in everything they do, but it's not on the Google side. So you just kind of, I mean, there's programs and systems out there that you could say like, okay, optimize for Alexa, and I want Alexa to know this particular business information about me. Mm-hmm. And you can go right into the system and change it. So, it does offer the business owner some control over things like that, but so many businesses just don't know to do that right off the bat.
Let's jump on over into the socials now. We've talked a little bit about kind of Google My Business, third-party kind of reviews through Yelp and TripAdvisor, etc. What do our socials need to look like? Is there a preference between Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, YouTube? How present do we need to be there? What kind of content should we be posting?
Yeah, so social media, it's an interesting beast. So what's funny is I have found myself, the more and more that I work in digital marketing, the less and less I want to ever look at social media sites. Yes. However, I'm also very efficient in what I do, and I certainly have an entire team that does all of the social media work, so I don't have to. But the biggest thing around social media is building community. I mean, regardless of the platform, what you're trying to do is convey to people why you are the right decision for them to choose for their buying decision-making process here. Like, why am I going to choose this chiropractor over another? If I say I go to a chiropractor's Facebook page and I see him talking about American football, I love football. I love the Buffalo Bills. I'm a diehard Bills fan. I'm sitting here drinking out of my Bills cup. So like, if I see somebody that likes football, like I know I'm probably gonna like this dude. Like, or yes. I spend a lot of money with fellow veteran-owned businesses. And, if I see that and that's the community that they're part of, that's a great thing. One of the things that I like to do for a lot of my clients is like find like partnerships around them, or find something about yourself personally that you can interject into your online presence. So one of my attorneys, he's really big into giving back and doing talks for local youth communities in partnership with the police station in his local area. So when he goes and does these talks, like I take advantage of that. Like either I go or I'll have one of his people do it, or send somebody to go out there and record it. So, we've got this amazing moment of this guy, he's a really great guy in his community, and people wouldn't necessarily know this about him and his business unless we portrayed it online some way. And he's too, we'll say maybe too proud, too reserved to really want to do, too modest to, he doesn't really want to do it himself. So I have to push some of my clients to say, like, it's okay to tell the world that you like this thing. It's okay to to display your passions online. That's half the reason people are going to choose you online, is because you're relatable, because they can understand you. And so if you're going to do Instagram reels, you're going to build stories, or even just formulating your initial social media persona that you want to use, I wouldn't stray too far from being authentically you. On our social media, what's fun about it is, I post about Marvel movies because I dig Marvel. Like on we're redoing our website right now, and like my position is CEO / Captain America. That's what one of my guys calls it. I'm the Army veteran and entrepreneur, and like I'm everything America here. But I'll post about football. I'll post about and anything that I personally enjoy, would enjoy a conversation about, would enjoy working with somebody that's also passionate about, like, there's no reason not to put it out there. The other thing that I tell a lot of people about on social media is just whatever that fear is, that's only, and we are, I mean, to avoid the topic, like too much here, but we are a very like fear-based society right now. People are very scared of their perception. People are very scared of, what anything they put out there, it's going to come back and bite them at some point. I mean, don't let whatever that fear is like keep you from being you. So like if you're acting in fear, you're really not able to spread your gifts to the world. And you became a chiropractor, because you want to help people, because you want to, positively impact people's lives around you. Don't let that fear of what somebody might think, or this bad comment you potentially could get on a post, hold back from maybe the other 20, 30, 40 people that see it and relate to in that sense, and want to engage with you in a business because of that. So as far as like what platforms to be on and everything, I look at demographics. I look at, say you're a chiropractor and you find that your favorite type of client to work with is, a woman who's 35 to 45. Then you should be on Pinterest. Pinterest is great for that. That's, that's put pictures up of top 5 ways to reduce back pain, top 5 ideas to, make your life more vibrant in a stuffy workplace, like those types of posts, if that's the demographic you like. And I talk about that a lot with my clients, is like, who is your ideal client? Like, if they're going to tell me, I enjoy working with women in this age group, or I enjoy working with, 20-year-olds who are, just getting into the world. Awesome. Let's hit Instagram. Let's do that. So it's tough to kind of pigeonhole and say, like, this is the social platform you should be on, because you always got to look at the demographic that you're looking for, and you got to look at the community that you want to build around you.
Yeah. I think, if we go back to kind of what we were saying almost at the beginning of those stages of marketing, where stage number 1 is awareness, then, that's what we want to be using social media for, because most people aren't on there to make a buying decision, not straight away. There's the occasional person, but it can be a beautiful tool for awareness. One of my marketing mantras is, when all things are even, we like doing business with people that we like, which is kind of what you said before about the guy who's the Bills fan, fellow veterans, when we have similar values and similar likes, I have to encourage people, it's social media. And so it's important that we share a bit of that. And then I'm also, because this idea of this fear in around what will people say, will I get some stinky comments, those kind of things there too. There are hundreds of practitioners that I kind of work directly with who are posting multiple times a week. So, tens of thousands of posts a year, and maybe, less than 5 do we get really, it's so rare. Like, it's probably not going to happen that somebody says something to you that you're not going to be able to brush off. My wife, Paul, is a chiropractor as well. We just had a little reel go viral. It's like 1.1 million views. It's mad, right? But the comments in that are crazy. Like, you read through them. And so my wife is like, she's like, oh my God, should I delete this? I'm like, no, babe, it's some nutter. Obscene stuff. But when 1.1 million people watch it, I said, babe, there are going to be some crazy people in there, and they're from all over the place there too. It's like, it's okay. Let it go. Move on. It's probably never going to happen to you. But it is one of those things that kind of really holds us back as well. If, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning too, and perhaps even before hitting the record button, I'm always a fan of that. We need to have some basic skills ourselves as chiropractors. We can delegate this. And I think when we delegate this stuff completely blindly, you end up like those scenarios beforehand with people having wrong phone numbers on stuff, broken links, all those kind of things there too. But if the time has come that somebody's kind of looking for some help, what are the things that they should consider before choosing, a digital strategist like yourself? What are the checklists they should go through when looking to work with someone?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I was building out the processes, so I'm a big process guy. I have lots of flow charts. Love a good flow chart. But Our biggest one is actually our onboarding side. So even though we're growing quite a bit as a company, I still prefer to be the final step in the sales process, because I want to make sure that they know who we are as a business, what our values are, and set the right expectations for them. But by far the biggest process we have is our onboarding. And I think that you know a lot about a company real quick by, how attentive they are to your needs early on, and how much they actually invest time and effort into getting to know you as a business to be portraying you online. So with that, our onboarding calls, I try to keep them around an hour. Most of them I would say are probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And if it's like a big client or a medical practice that really doesn't have anything online yet, I like to go and either do them in person or just do them by myself, just to really get a feel for their business. And I pull out some of those questions that probably most marketers don't ask too often. I know that like I've done enough research on like the questionnaires that some marketing companies send out there. And if they're like, what's your tone? Do you want to be funny? Do you want to be this? I'm like I kind of laugh at that, because when I ask them, I'm like, if your online presence was a person, who would it be? I got the greatest answer the other day. This guy, he was like, I would want to be like Paul Rudd. I was like, that is exactly what because I can make Paul Rudd online. I can you just gave me a perfect visual that I can now work with and kind of build that thing. So I think it is tough because I'll be the first to admit it, the digital marketing space is pretty shady. Like that was one of the reasons why, even though I had struggles in the company working with these like Inc. 500 fastest growing companies, I would see retention at like 5 months, 6 months. Like if you can't trust a business for 5-6 months to do work for you, like something's wrong with that. And when that's like average retention, like in the entire industry, that screamed, opportunity to me. And I know so many businesses, like I don't try to talk down about any competitors or any other businesses out there, because I think that there are some really good ones. But I also, I caution against working with like really big companies where you're just a number, and the social media that they're generating for you is just like factory, stick your logo on this image, slide it out. Like, that's not effective online. You have to, build a personality out there. It's all about building that community. And if it's just the same as every other chiropractor out there, how great is that? Like what's differentiating you? What's making me take that extra step in the buying decision process to say you're the one I've now chosen? So I don't even want our company to get all that big. I like the personalness of, only working with a few clients. So the directive I've always given my team, I was like, we will grow until the point where I can't talk to at least every client once a month. I said, if we get to that point where my time is so booked up where I can't have, an hour-long conversation with a client, with each of our clients every month, like, then maybe I have to start bringing in partners and looking at changing up our business model or something along those lines. But that would be the biggest stuff I'd look at, is like, show me some of the content that you've created for past clients. How would this be different for me? How is it for me? Like, remember, you are the client. Us as marketing companies, we're trying to win your business. I'd like to get to that point at some point where people are trying to win my business for me to be that guy for them. Maybe be like a Gary Vaynerchuk type or something along those lines. But that's a long way down the road. Right now, I'm in competition for your business, because there are a ton of different options out there in marketing. So ask those questions, like how is this content going to reflect me online, as opposed to just cookie cutter, pushing it out there? How is my website going to reflect my personality and my value propositions? Make sure that marketing company's asking you the right questions before you ever sign on a dotted line. Are they asking you what your goals are, what your strategies are, what you've tried in the past, what your competitors are doing? If they're not asking you those types of questions, then, you might be in one of those kind of factory style situations. And I'm a big advocate for small businesses. I think the entire world, the US in particular, would be a lot better if we had 50 statewide, state size Amazons instead of one giant Amazon. I think that when the companies are a little bit smaller and more manageable, you get better service out of it. You get more attention to your individual problems. And that would be my dream for a bunch of marketing companies, that they only have, 100 clients and they're able to talk to everyone every month and really understand and build those relationships. So I guess to boil it down, I'd say make sure that they're in it for you and that you're not, begging at them to do some work for you.
Good advice. The dream scenario for so many practitioners is for them to be able to handle their marketing and somebody else deal with all of it. Is that realistic, or how much do they need to be involved ideally?
So I would say you always have to have at least like 10%. I'd say the business always has to have a little bit of a hand in it. Now, I have some clients that love to talk to me every week. I see them constantly emailing back and forth with my team on creative stuff, and that's great. Like, the more feedback, the better. So the squeaky wheel gets the oil, gets the attention. So if you're working with a marketing company, don't ever feel bad about reaching out and like saying, hey, do this for me, make this better. And if they can't, then there's a bunch of marketing companies. You can always find someone else. So I would say don't hesitate to be involved, but only be involved into the level you want. Like, you should never be designing your own social content. If you really want to like give them an idea, Canva is a wonderful product. Canva is probably like the best $20 investment I'd say a small business can make.
Yeah,
they have it's so wonderful, and it's cheap, it's efficient. The photo gallery on there is great. It allows you to like pull some of your creativity out. I don't know. Some things I feel like I'm very creative at. Most things I feel like I'm not. But sometimes I get in Canva and all of a sudden, like, 30 minutes later, I'm like, I put together some real nice stuff here, like just design some cool logos. So Canva does tend, if you can sit there and lock into a program and, wiggle around in there, but at $20 a month or whatever it is, it's an amazing value to a small business.
Yes.
I'm a big advocate of tools. That's one reason why like our dashboard was the first thing we rolled out, was because I wanted to find something at like a low price point that like controls your entire online presence. So as we were building that, like it's got like a social media scheduler in there. It's got API connections for all the review sites, so you can see all your reviews, answer your reviews. It's got email marketing built in, business listings built in, SEO built in, website analytics. So I wanted to build like one singular hub where everyone could just come in and see their entire online presence. And that's kind of what like Canva is for graphics. Like I could build Instagram posts over there, Facebook posts, YouTube banner clicks, LinkedIn banners. Like, you can build anything in there. And if a business is going to do some of these things on their own, I would say that's the first stop, because graphically you can cover nearly all of your bases. If you are going to put all of your digital marketing into someone else's hands, be sure that you trust them. I would say don't do it for the first few months. For the first few months, be a pain in their ass. Talk to them constantly about what the strategy is, kind of where it's going, what it's doing. And I encourage my clients to do that. But what's nice is those ones that do it the most, 3-4 months down the road, I barely hear from them, because I've now built up that trust level. We understand them really, really well as a business. And it came from me actually telling them, hey, it's fine to bug me. It's fine to jump in my emails every day. Like, I will get to it, and I'll deliver that information to you. And if I can't, I will find you the resource for it. But that day that you trust me and you say, you know what, just run with it, it's going to be a great day for all of us. Because at that point, all of your time is going to be freed up. At that point, all of our creativity can really just go wild, because we know who you are. We know how to portray you. So that would be my biggest things. Like, it's always good to stay a little bit involved, but if you truly want to be hands-off, and this reminds me a lot of what it's like when you're working with virtual assistants. They say for every hour you want to save with a virtual assistant in your work life, you have to dedicate 5 hours to training them on that thing.
Yeah. Great.
So and it's the same thing with your digital marketing company. Like, if you want to be truly hands-off with your digital, you got to pound into whatever company you trust, what it is you want, how you want to look, where your strategies are going to be. Hound them for a while, get them trained, because again, they're working for you. Get them trained up, and then it becomes a lot easier to be hands-off. I would say probably about 3/4 of our clients right now are pretty hands-off. Like I call them up and I say, hey, how's business? They say, business is great. And I say, awesome. Anything you need? And he's like, nope, keep doing it. And I'm like, great. You want to play a round of golf on Saturday? Yes. All right. Like those are the best, client calls that I could have.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen overnight. It's because we've built that relationship, and I really understand them as a business, and we're able to put together a great online presence.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for that mantra of, hard first, easy later, easy first, hard later as well. Hey, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. I really want to encourage our listeners to go through and do a little bit of an audit of what is the community seeing of them? If they do a bit of a search through, Paul has given us so many tactical things from, looking at Yelp and other places like that. How would you show up in voice? Run that check yourself. Have you updated your Google My Business? Have you kind of investigated things like product cards? And again, there too, is it time for you to look at kind of handballing this stuff off? And I love that idea of, if you're going to look for an agency, looking at their past work, interviewing them. Remember that, they're your client, not the other way around too. So, Paul, if people want to investigate you and your crew a little bit more, how do they find you? Where do they find out more about the work you do?
So the main page that we direct people to is ZMOTexpert.com. And when you go on that page, we got some buttons. You can try our dashboard for free for 2 weeks. We also have a free snapshot report. So if you don't have the time to kind of do that digging with your online presence and see how you're looking, you can click on there for a free snapshot report. It takes us about 48 hours to, check you out and kind of put together all the grading system for it. But it's nice because it's a good starting point, at least, especially on the review sites and the directories. Because I think those are the two most probably impactful things that you can do pretty quick. I mean,
Yes.
If you're not answering reviews, you can sit down for an hour, 8:00 at night while you're watching whatever TV show it is that you're watching and answer some reviews. You'd be surprised how impactful that can be on your business. But what's great is I'm a big advocate for just making sure you have the right tools, making sure that you're setting yourself up as efficiently as possible. I also have a link right on there for Canva that you can get a discounted price on. Canva is right on that page as well. So it's ZMOTexpert.com. ZMOTexpert.com.
Beautiful. I'll make sure I link all of that in the notes, and I'll have linked to other socials as well. Buddy, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that ace is coming your way sooner rather than later on the golf course too. So maybe some good luck after this phone call, buddy. Take care. Have a beautiful afternoon.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, Angus. Have a great day.
Ta. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.